So today's game is actually a little bit based on another game some of the kids were playing called Don't Fall. It's like a game where you've got a stick person and they're kind of ragdoll-y, where their arms and legs kind of spin around. And the goal is to knock each other off of a platform. And you just kind of nudge them back and forth with the keyboard. So I thought that was kind of a neat little effect. Maybe we'd create our own. What I'm thinking we'll do is we'll have a long screen with blocks that fall with some stars that you collect. And the goal is to kind of try to nudge your character up to the top and maybe don't fall in the water. So I loosely called it Don't Drown. And so that's what we're going to build today. So let's go ahead and create a new project. We'll just create an empty project. We're going to create a real narrow one that goes all the way down. I think we'll create it the same width of our screen or as the default window, but we'll make it maybe 3,000 long. So we'll do 854 by 3,000. So that'll give us a layout like this. We'll zoom out a little bit so you can kind of see. So relatively long and narrow. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create our stick figure. So we're just going to do just a couple of sprites here for this. We don't have any specific images. We're just going to go ahead and pick a color. I think I'm going to do mine yellow. You can pick any color you want. I would just keep it all the same color. So literally just going to be some little blocks here. We're not going to do anything fancy with colors or graphics on our character. I mean, he is just supposed to be a stick character. So I've got a background. We can change this color later too if we want. So let's name this body. Now let's create two arms, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do a sprite. I'm going to fill it with the same color, yellow. And we're just going to make these real thin arms. I'm going to have to zoom in here. We don't want our character too big because we want him to kind of be a little bit floppy, but we can adjust him a little bit here as we get started. So we want to just place his arm like right about there. Now I'm going to go ahead and clone this. Let me rename this first. We'll call this arm 1. He's going to have two arms. And then let's clone this so that we've got another one. And it needs to be separate. You can't do a duplicate and have it be the same image. We actually need separate images for the separate sprites. So let me just copy the size here. Let me just do this to 7 by 38, and then I'll copy this and do the same here so his arms are both identical. And then we're going to just tuck this arm in kind of where about the same distance as that other one. And then we're going to call this arm 2. I guess it auto-named it arm 2. So then we're going to create two legs. So we're going to do the same thing. Let's just go ahead and clone this, and we'll make this about the same size as his arm, 7 by 38. There we go. And then we're going to do it one more time. Actually, let's rename this leg. We'll call this leg 2. That way our 1s are on the right and our 2s are on the left. So let me clone this. And I'll paste in that size, 7 by 38, so that all of his limbs are the same size. I'm going to place it in there just like that. All right, so now we've kind of got our body. Let's rename this leg to be leg 1 so we've got body, and then we've got arm 1, leg 1, arm 2, leg 2. And then we need a head. So the easiest way to make a head is, let's just go ahead and clone this. And then we'll double click on this. Now, the easiest way to make a circle is to take this pin right here, and we're just going to make it large. So let's say about 150. And then let's just adjust this a little bit. Let's make the whole body here 150 by 150. And then we'll stick the head right in the middle. Perfect. And then we'll just go ahead and resize this down to about head size, which is about that big. Now I'm going to just tweak this now that I know. So we'll do, let's do 25 by 25. Now it's important that all of your your body parts are about proportioned to the way you want them, and they're all the same distance from the body. Because wherever they are right now, they're gonna stick to that spot, so they'll always be that far from their body. So you don't want them too far apart. So that looks pretty good right about there. Let's just rename this real quick to call it head. All right, now that we have our stick figure, we're going to go ahead and tie these pieces together, and we're going to use the physics behavior. There's a property in there that allows you to create a joint, so two objects will always essentially pivot and kind of work as a joint. So what we're going to do on this is we're just going to add physics to all of these guys because they're all going to be within the same behavior. So we have to do it one at a time. So let's just go ahead and add physics to each of them. All right, so now we have physics on all of our body parts, and they're all, we're going to add some additional behaviors later, but to start with, we're just going to go ahead and use physics. Let's add a platform for him to stand on, and this is just going to be temporary, but the other thing is as soon as we run the game, it's going to fall apart. So let's go ahead and insert a tile background, and we're just going to put it on the main layer for right now, and then let's just load in one of our tiled backgrounds. All right, I'm just going to use this one here, this ground, and I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. We're going to make this small, and then we're going to go ahead and add physics to this as well. And then we're going to set it to immovable so that the ground doesn't fall. All right, so there's our ground and there's our character. Now if we run this, since we haven't done anything with those joints, our character is just going to fall and splat everywhere. Okay, so you see our character's arms just fell off because they're not attached to any joint, and because this is perfectly flat, it didn't actually slide around or anything either. But now what we're going to do is we're going to create some joints for our little stick person. So what we need to do in order to make these joints is we need to create image points on the body so that we can tie the arms and legs and head to. So let's go ahead and edit our body. We'll go ahead and select on the image point, and we're going to actually create 5 image points, one for each arm and leg and his head. So we can just go ahead and create 5 of them. So then we'll start with the number 1. So image point 1. We'll make that be his right arm, and this is going to be the point in which we want that arm to stick with. So I'm going to put it just outside of his body just a little bit, say right about there. Image point 2, we'll just go ahead and go all the way around we'll just go around the image here, and we'll make it his leg. So we'll make it his right leg over here. And then number 3, we'll make his left leg, so it'll be right about here. And then 4 will be his left arm, so we'll put that right about here. And then this will be his head. And the head we're going to do just right above the body, so right about there. So there will be where we put all of our image points. So image point 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, now we need to create the actual joints for our stick person, and they're going to be applied to those image points that we just created a minute ago. So on the event sheet, the way this works is that when the game starts, we want to create those joints. And so we're going to use this feature here called on start of layout. So this will just get called once, but it gets called when the layout starts. And it does also get recalled if you do a restart layer. So if you call the restart layout, it'll actually go ahead and recall this as well. All right, so now we're just going to add the joints, and we're going to go from image point 1 through 5. So that's the top right-hand side or his left side. So we'll go ahead and say add action, and they're all going to get applied to the body. So we'll say body. And then we're going to scroll down here to where it says this limited joint, create limited joint. So we'll double click on that. Now this is going to be the image point that we want to attach. And so we're going to start with image point 1. And then that's going to apply to arm number 1. And then the angles here are just a little bit weird, but it's going to actually be 160 to 0. And the reason is because his arm is hanging straight down, and we want to allow it to go backwards 180. So 160. 180 would be a full half a circle, but we're not going to have it go quite that far, so it'll actually kind of bump into his head a little bit and then go back down. So the next one we're going to create is going to be for his leg on the same side. So we're going to say body, and then we're going to go down to the same limited joint, and this is going to be image point number 2, and this is actually going to be leg number 1 on that same side. So arm 1, leg 1. And then this one here, we're going to do -75 because we want him to be able to kind of swing back up towards his arm. And then we're going to have it go a little bit further to his other leg too at 25. So that'll give us a little bit of a range. So then we're going to create another one, and this is going to be body, and we're going to create this limited joint. And now we're going to use image point number 3, and this is going to be leg number 2. And those ones, this one we're going to do the opposite of the other one. So we'll go -25 and then 75. So that'll let his leg swing towards his other leg and then all the way back up to where his arm is. All right, now we're going to create another one, and this is going to be body, limited joint. And this is now going to be image point number 4, and this is going to be arm number 2. And this one here, we're going to have the same only for his other arm. So we're going to go from 0, and then we're going to allow him to go 160 degrees. So that'll let his arm swing up to his head. Then we're going to create one more, and this last one is for his head. So we're going to create another limited joint. And this is going to be for image point number 5, which is where we created his head. And we're going to use head. And this one, we're going to let his head actually do about 180 degrees. So we're going to say -90 and 90. So it'll essentially let his head go left and right almost a full 180 degrees. Okay, so let's go ahead and test that. Now, we don't have any way of kind of nudging him, but at least he'll fall, and his arms and legs should stay intact. They shouldn't fall off like they did a minute ago. So there we go. So you can see he kind of falls over, but all of his joints stay together. So now let's go ahead and add some keyboard action so we can nudge him. So the first thing we need to do is add the keyboard. So let's go to our layout, insert object, and then we're going to pick keyboard. All right, now we're going to go ahead and add a couple of actions for the keyboard in order to apply a force. So we'll go new event, keyboard. Now we're going to use this key is down because we want it to trigger as long as the key is being held down. So not just one time, but as long as you're holding it down, we want to apply a force. And so let's start with the right arrow key. So we'll do right arrow. And the action for this is we're going to use the body, and we're going to apply a force to his body. So we're going to say body, and then we're going to go down to where it says apply force at angle. And we don't need a ton of force, although depending on the size of your character, you may need more force. I'm going to use 20 as my force. And my angle is going to be 0 because right is 0 degrees. So we're going to use 0, and then we're going to apply that to the image, to the origin point right in the middle. So we'll go ahead and leave that at 0. Now let's go ahead and add another keyboard, and we're going to say is key down. Now let's use the left arrow key. And this action is going to be the same, only we're going to apply it to the body, we're going to apply force at an angle, and we're going to also apply 20. And our angle is going to be 180 degrees because we want it to go left. And then the last one we're going to add is we want to be able to nudge them up. So let's go ahead and say keyboard is key down, and then let's use the up arrow. Now this one we're going to actually do a little bit of a greater force because it's going to take more effort to get them to go up than to go left and right. So we're going to say body, apply force at angle. And I'm going to double that, so I'm going to say 40, and we may need to make that a little bit larger still. And up, again, the angle at 0 is, to the right is 0, so we need to go all the way around and say 270 is our angle, so that we're going straight up. And then again, we'll use image point 0. All right, so let's test this, and we'll see if we can kind of navigate our character around and nudge him a little bit. All right, so I'm going to hit up, and you can see he kind of flops, and his arms flail around, and then he goes off the screen. That's kind of a lot of force. We may need to adjust that force a little bit. But you can see left and right, and he fell off the screen. All right, so let's add a few more behaviors to our stick figure. So we only need to add them to the body because the joints are going to hold all the pieces together. So for the body, let's add a couple more behaviors. Let's go ahead and add bound to layout so he can't fall off the screen. And then let's also add the camera, or the scroll to, so the camera will follow him around. Okay, so now he won't fall off the screen, and you can kind of flail him around like a rag doll, so you can see the effect that we get. And you can kind of see his head kind of goes a long ways around like he's got a broken neck. But because we've got the up, we can kind of get him to come back up on our platform and kind of bounce him around. So there we go. There's our kind of rag doll stick figure character with his arms and legs and stuff all attached by a joint. All right, so we've got our tile background here. Let's go ahead and create a couple more of these just so we have some different effect. So we'll go ahead and create another tile background. And there's a couple of different ones provided. So I'm just going to load in this purple one. And then I'm going to create another one, tile background. And then I'm going to use the water. I'm going to put that at the very, very bottom. So you'll see where we use that here in a minute. We'll just make this a little bit narrower. Then I'm going to add one more tile background. And I'm going to use this one right here, kind of digital one. You can use whichever ones you want. You can use more or less. It doesn't matter. I wanted to have a bunch of different ones for mine. All right, so now let's zoom out a little bit, and let's go ahead and place these on the screen so that we kind of have a little bit of like an effect here. So we've got things for him to fall and run into, and then we're also going to add some of those crates that are going to fall from the top, as well as some stars. So let's go ahead and put our water. We're going to use this as kind of our trap, something that he doesn't want to fall into. So let's go ahead and put this at the very, very bottom. So if he gets all the way to the bottom, we'll have him drowned if he actually hits the bottom. And then these other ones we're just going to use throughout the game to kind of stagger them and to build a little bit of a maze. So I'm going to go ahead and create one real quick, and then you can go ahead and create yours however you'd like. All right, so this is the layout that I came up with. You can do anything you'd like, but I just kind of have them staggered. Most of them are on a little bit of an angle, kind of all funneling towards the middle because we want everything to fall to the bottom. So once you get yours laid out, make sure, a couple things you'll need to also do is on your tiled backgrounds, make sure you've added physics and then set them to immobile. So if you didn't do that before, make sure you do that now. Otherwise, he's going to fall right straight through them. Now, you don't have to do that for the water. In fact, probably don't do it for the water, just your other tile backgrounds. Any of them that you created, just go ahead and set them with physics and then immovable so that everything will bounce off of them. So then if you want, you can go ahead and run it, and you can kind of see how it looks. So we'll go ahead and run mine. And you'll see your stick figure guy, he'll kind of tumble down, and then if you use the arrow key up, down, left, right, you can kind of tweak him and fly him around a little bit. But you can see he kind of bounces off everything until he gets all the way down to the very, very bottom.